I'd like to call the meeting to order. Our first item is our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any additions? Call for a vote. It is approved. Public forum. Is there anybody that would like to approach the board? Now's your time. Moving on to our presentations. Alternative education. Welcome, Amanda. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for putting me in front of you. Tried to pick a topic that was maybe a little different than what we've always done. I think I've done Indian Ed the last few years. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about alternative education and then a little bit about what that looks like here at Marshall Public Schools and specifically to Maytech. So are you able to, oh, you know what? I have to do one thing really quick. I bet. Oh, maybe it'll work. Hold on. I didn't see the bottom bar down there. I should be able to just go in. Perfect. All right. So what is alternative education? It's unique to the state. There are only 2 programs in the state that are specifically approved and overseen by MDE, more so than just at the local level, and they can make statutes and different directives for the programs. Alternative schools is one of those, and online learning is the other one. You actually have to go through a process to apply for those, a little different than what other schools might have to follow. They can set parameters on requirements for these programs, and these are called state-approved alternative programs, or oftentimes referred to as SAPs. So you'll see that throughout the slide here. It's defined by state statute, and there are 4 types of SAPs that kind of exist in the state of Minnesota. We are an alternative learning school or center, so an ALC, that's what we run here. And we have a few different things that we can offer because we're qualified as an ALC. Then there's alternative learning programs. They still offer all of the same alternative, flexible learning to support kids for credit recovery, but it's different in the manner that they don't have the qualifications to run targeted services where we do as an ALC. There can also be contracted alternative schools or centers. Those would be where maybe a school contracts with us. We actually did this a little bit with Ivanhoe, and they are able to utilize some of we umbrella the alternative school realm with them, and they contract out that service so that they can then offer some summer school programming to support their kids. A lot of times you might see some more of the contracted services with cooperatives. They do encourage that schools that have ALCs are part of a cooperative or work with a cooperative. And then as far as the 4th piece of that is targeted services for grades K-8. In order to have that is considered under the alternative school realm, you have to have an alternative learning center. And there are some pieces with the alternative learning center that I'll get to that explain why we have that. So there is also the mission. The mission for alternative education is a way to provide viable education to students who maybe are experiencing difficulty or maybe just not the traditional school model works for them. It could also be other reasons, and there are criteria for it that we'll talk about, but maybe they have some medical reasons, or maybe they have, it's a young parent. And so there are reasons that their mission statement is specific to those students that are struggling with difficulties. So through alternative education, we have the opportunity, all of our students here at Marshall Public School, they give us a 1.0 ADM, or I just lost my spot, sorry. Average daily membership, I can't remember what it's called. With our alternative schools, they can get that 0.2 beyond that. So we can get funding for up to initial 0.2 for our kids at the different levels based on what level they're at. And then it is governed by a few different statutes. One of the pieces that the graduation is graduation incentive criteria, and that's how we identify our students at risk. This could include, a lot of times the main focus is credit recovery. so kids who are credit deficient, not on track to graduate. But it can also include areas of mental health needs, students that are parents, and there are other factors that we sometimes look at. Sometimes it's just we're really struggling at the high school with a student. They might not be behind, but they have the risk factors there, so we might transition a student over to Maytech. We're also required by law through statute to have continuing learning plans in place for every student that attends an ALC. A continuing learning plan, or CLP, is developed each year with our students. We sit down, we talk about their goals for the year. We have their credits right there in front of them, what they still need to graduate, and how that's going to look and how they're going to pass that. And then schools need to provide information about alternative programs to their schools. This is also in statute, which we do. We have that in different formats throughout our district documents. It's the opportunity to share it with families that students, if they're struggling, there's a way for them to be successful and graduate. However, it's important and it's stressed often at our level that it is a choice for families. We can't require them to attend an ALC or an ALP, but it is definitely something that we really try to support them in and recommend if it's necessary. So specific to Maytech. Maytech, under the SAP guidelines, we are considered an alternative learning center. We are a full-time program. We also have to, as a full-time ALC, we have to offer the year-round and extended day programs to our students for that flexible model. And so our extended hours are called after hours. We run that at the high school. Kids in grades 9 through 12 can participate in that. Maytech kids are allowed to go over to the high school for after hours. However, we have, and I'll get to this in another slide coming up, but we have our work experience that most of our kids take part in to earn credits. A lot of them are really trying to support their own personal life or their family. And so a lot of our students get jobs and they'll earn their credits that way versus the after hours program. We also have the middle level programming. That's a big piece to let us qualify to be an ALC, and then lets us offer targeted services. We are working with the middle school program here, and I'll talk a little bit about that coming up as well. Like I said, with that we get targeted services. With the ALC status, middle level programming, we qualify for that targeted services, and that's where we have after school program, known as Project Success, and our summer school programs for K-8. Targeted services only covers K-8. A few other things, some of the main components of the ALC, we do have to have state approval to run our program. I think my first year, so 3 years ago, we had to complete the application form for that and resubmit that, so they do look at what our programs are, what we're doing, what we're offering. We have to provide instruction year-round. We must provide a comprehensive education program. We try to keep our program consistent to the high school, so classes that are required at the high school are also required through Maytech. The same amount of credits are required at both sites. And we really work to pair our teachers. They obviously participate in PLCs at the high school, so they're really doing a lot of the same stuff, so it is very comprehensive. We are required to provide instruction to non-residents as well as residents. That's kind of hidden in our resources, but we open our doors to many communities, other schools. And then we can use or utilize a school within a school model, and that's kind of what we use at the middle school once we get talking about that program. So targeted services, you hear about this every year as we move forward into the summer, and at the beginning of the year, we always come for a request to hire teachers. It is specific programming for grades K through 8, and we really look to identify students who are at risk because we want to prevent that high school credit recovery need. Again, those students can also generate an additional 0.2 in that extended time service for ADMs. And we run our school program, our after school program does cover K-8, and our summer school program covers 1-8. And part of that is the whole rising student factor. So our kindergartners in school this year are considered first graders as we go into the summer. And so we don't really have we have preschool, but we don't have it at that level to say teacher referrals. Targeted services is based through teacher referrals. You do need to have that component to, it's not the only component, but that is part of the process to refer kids to the programs. And again, targeted service is also parent choice. They can say, no, we don't want to take this opportunity at this time. Again, it's our job to really try to talk to them about why it's important or why it's relevant for their child.
Amanda, are they running after-school program K-8 right now?
Yes, yep.
And what are the hours for that?
They go on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it is, it kind of is a staggered piece. We run it at Parkside, Southview, and the middle school. And I want to say 4:50 is our last bus pickup. We had a little bit of changes with, I'm still kind of in the background of some targeted services stuff, but Mrs. Thomas has been running some of that stuff this year. So summer school program, we will have 2 sessions like we have in the past. It's typically what we've done, other than the COVID year threw us for a loop. We did 1 big session. But that will run, we usually run a June session and a July session. And we run from 8 to 1, Mondays through Thursdays, and it's about 3 weeks for each session. And that's again, we have our teachers start the process now, kind of thinking about kids who might benefit from that program. We hire our coordinator, Emily Carroll, this year again. She'll come in and she'll make contact with all the families and let them know that they have been referred. If parents have big questions about that, then she'll defer them on to me and we'll have conversations too. But so far we've had great success. Our parents really seem to, if they don't get the referral or get the call, they usually are calling us saying, hey, can we look to sign up? And so we kind of have a process that we follow with the referrals, the needs, and then the number of students and staff that we have working. So.
Oh, man, how are they doing that K-8? Are they, is it by grade or so you have one teacher helping so many kids?
Yep, so we start out the year with the request for 2 teachers at every grade level, trying to be proactive with it. Sometimes we don't get that many teachers to help with the after-school program, and so we then fill the classes based on need. This year we had some conversations and we went forward and asked for an aide so we can maybe have a few more students in the classroom, just with an extra body in there to help. And so we've taken that model. We did that last summer as well when we couldn't get enough teachers. We definitely get enough referrals numbers for kids. We don't always get all the parents to agree to those referrals. But we also have our wait list, so if a student would drop out or a parent would decide it's not the best fit, then we make sure to try to keep those classrooms filled in. Kids who have the need are getting serviced. So.
Just on that, I would say our typical class size is 10 to 12. And with those classes where we added the 8, I think we're at 16, 17, maybe in that range. And
Yeah, so
we've got
still-
4 classes,
yeah.
maybe, where we have that going on right now.
Still trying to keep them small. Same model in the summer. We try to stick. 12 is kind of our cutoff if it's just a teacher. And then, middle school level, especially that 7th and 8th in the summer, we might have a few more just because it's a little different model, and they're used to a few more kids at the middle school level. So that's not the button. Good thing I didn't do something here. High school credit recovery then is a different component. That's for our grades 9 through 12. We have our after hours program. They can do that throughout the school year. A student who maybe doesn't pass algebra class, they have the opportunity to work through our after hours program to earn that credit. Sometimes students might earn a half a credit in a class, and it's really hard to, with semester classes, trying to pair that off. So they might take a half of a credit through our after hours program. After hours is run through, we have a program called Edgenuity. It's an online curriculum-based program. All of our teachers who teach the different classes have gone through. Last year at Maytech, we spent some additional time really looking at the needs of what's on those programs and what our classes are, and really pared them down to match what's being taught in algebra. At Maytech, we split everything into halves, so a semester of algebra, we have A and B. And so our teachers took time to really make sure what we have assigned in Edgenuity as Algebra A matches, and same with Algebra B. So if a kid isn't successful in half of a course, we can add that in, and they're getting the stuff that they missed. Really trying to be more personalized and flexible with the alternative model. And then we have our, after hours runs Monday through Friday at the high school. It goes till 5. We just had some conversations recently about maybe being more flexible and structured with some of that. We're seeing a huge increase in our students wanting to work, and workforce is needing people. And so we're having a lot of conversations of kids coming in and saying, I want to do after hours, but I can only stay till 4. So Brian and I have sat down and had some conversations about why can't we be more flexible? If they're committed and they're showing up 5 days a week until 4, that's better than nothing. and they're still getting the opportunity to go work. So we're trying to look at things a little bit differently and more flexible. Our summer school credit recovery program, that's part of what is required to be an alternative school and have that year-round program. So our summer school consists of, we typically run about 22 to 25 days depending on the year. And the students go from, it was 8 to 2:30, we're gonna go from 8 to 3 this year. And, because that's what they're used to in a normal school day. And students are able to earn up to a credit in our credit recovery based on what they need. So if they need a full thing, a full credit of algebra, they might be in algebra for the whole day, getting some supports, working through it. If they need half a credit in world geography and half a credit in English 9, we can set it up that way. So we're really trying to look at each individual kid when we do that. Again, it is open, after hours and summer school are both open to all of our 9 through 12 students. So our Maytech kids and our high school kids both attend these programs. Again, with summer school, a lot of the Maytech kids will choose the work experience option. And so through work experience, I think I'm jumping ahead here actually. I should jump to the next one quick. The work experience gives that opportunity for kids to work and still earn credit. They work with Renee Jenigas. She's our new work learn coordinator. Probably heard her name a little bit more frequently. And through that, she's sitting down with the kids. She comes to Maytech once a week in the school year and works on some of the components of a job, building a resume, helping some students that maybe need to find a job. And then once they have a job, she's the bridge point to make sure that they're successful in their job. She's connecting with their employer, she's connecting with the student, making sure that they're earning the hours that they need to earn that credit. Really big things about Maytech, we're really trying to be personalized in scheduling to meet the needs of the student. So every student goes through the counselor or my hands, and we're looking at their transcripts, we're looking at what areas they maybe have already tried in after hours on Edgenuity that they didn't maybe go so well. We sit down with the students and ask them, is math more of a difficult class? Is it something you should be in the actual classroom in person for? Or should we try it again on Edgenuity? And so we're really trying to with having Cassie as our counselor full-time this year, that's really been something we've been able to do more closely. In the past, we had a part-time counselor bouncing back from Maytech in the high school. That's made a huge difference, especially even with some of our mental health side of things, having a counselor full-time. I talked about work experiences. That counts towards their electives credits. Electives are a little bit harder at Maytech. We don't have as many. We have quite a few electives in our health PE realm, but our other classes are pretty tight to teaching. They need 4 credits of social studies and specific credits. They need 4 credits in language arts, and there's pretty specific credits that they need. So it really locks into those being really required courses. So work experience helps bring in electives, and then our Edgenuity class really helps bring in electives. That's where we fill in our gaps. Class sizes are smaller, went up a little bit this year just because we had some shifts in our shared staff. We don't have as many shared staff with high school, but we're still averaging right around 15, 16. I think I've really tried hard to stay at that 16 mark. And then we're continuing to have conversations and look for more flexible options. I know Jeremy, Beth, and I and Brian have had conversations about how can we make this look more alternative? What is an alternative about our model, and what can we do to really help support our students? With our conversations with the collaboration with Southwest Cooperative, there have been more and more discussions on that as well. Having some networking meetings with their people, because they also have alternative centers, and just seeing what can we do different. That's what I have. Are there any questions for me?
What's your current enrollment, Amanda?
I just looked today, and I have 50 students that are just Maytech students. I have 6 that are in what we call the MLC, and then with Maytech or with the welding and CNA, I have 12 in CNA and 6 in welding. So,
Very good questions. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you, Amanda.
Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
thank you.
Moving on to our board forum. Board members, any updates? Moving on to discussion items, summary of the superintendent's evaluation. A performance review for Superintendent Williams is now complete for the 2021-22 school year. As part of his performance review process, an online evaluation was completed by the school board and school administration. The evaluation consisted of 5 sections: policy, governance, instructional leadership, organizational management, professionalism, and attributes, with various ratings of each section, a ranking of 1 for poor and 4 for excellent. Below are the school board's cumulative ratings for each category. The first category was policy and governance. He rated 3.5. Instructional leadership was 3.43. Organizational management was 3.46. Professionalism was 3.58. Attributes were 3.52, so the overall average was 3.5 out of 4. The rating in the process indicates the overall superintendent is doing an excellent job and meets our expectations. The school board was pleased with his performance. Any questions or additions or comments?
Thank you for your work, Jeremy, especially in the stuff we've had to go through.
Moving on to our second review of policies 711 through 714 and 720 through 722. Any comments or questions?
No major changes in any of these.
Moving on to our action items. Our first action item is our personnel. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Open for discussion. Hearing no discussion, we'll call for a vote. It is approved. Authorization to advertise and hire extended school year staff.
So
Motion,
moved.
need a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Sure, this is the special ed program that we run in the summer. It's IEP driven for this one. We did the other summer school programs already.
Very good. Please vote. It is approved. Thank you, board members. Meeting's adjourned.